Hey there everyone, so today we're going to be doing a video that's a bit different. It's been a while since I've done one of these sort of informational videos and I think I'd like to do a few more of them. This is a video that I've been feeling quite called to do for quite some time now, and that is the topic of saying goodbye and how to get better at saying goodbye. So I'm someone who's had to say goodbye quite a few times in my life, and I've definitely noticed that with certain techniques it's become less painful. Obviously, we all say goodbye to people for different reasons throughout our life. Sometimes those goodbyes are temporary and sometimes they are permanent, and they can be very emotionally upsetting, even if we know that the goodbye is happening for the right reasons. So, what I want to focus on today is how to take steps to mitigate the negative emotional side effects of saying goodbye to someone, not just the actual act and what happens afterwards, but also in the run up to having to part ways with someone, whether it's a permanent situation or temporarily leaving someone. So, obviously, because we say goodbye for lots of different reasons and there are lots of different situations there, not all of these techniques will be appropriate for everyone in every situation. So just pick and choose from this. Firstly, what you feel you can deal with. Some of it is stuff that you might struggle to apply to your life, and some of it wouldn't be appropriate for every situation. For example, keeping in touch with someone as a means to mitigate feelings of sadness is not going to be helpful if you're permanently leaving someone's life. So take this and fit it to your situation as you deem suitable. So yeah, we're going to focus on the lead up to saying goodbye first of all. So the lead up is anything up until you actually saying goodbye to that person and parting ways with them. Now I want to reiterate that this is not definitive things that you can do in order to make saying goodbye better. There will, I'm sure, be lots of other techniques that you can use. These are just things that I have personally noticed have improved my ability to leave people, move away without feeling extremely emotionally distressed by it. So my main advice in the lead up to saying goodbye to someone is try to stop checking the time. So obviously you might be doing this subconsciously and not even be aware of the fact that when you're spending time with someone who you know you're going to have to say goodbye to, you keep checking your phone or your watch or the clock to see what time it is. You might not notice that you're doing it. But this is one thing that sort of creates a sense of anxiety in your mind. It builds it up. It makes it seem more emphatic in a way. It emphasizes the fact that you've got less and less time left with that person. So again, this is difficult because it can sometimes be a very subconscious thing, but try to stop yourself from doing this. Put your phone face down so that you can't see the time. Face away, sit facing away from the clock wherever you're seated. Take your watch off if you wear one. Just try and make it harder for you to keep checking the time. Because if you're constantly thinking to yourself, I've only got 30 minutes left with this person, or I've only got 2 hours left with them, or they're going to leave in 10 minutes, we're going to have to start walking to the train station, etc., that can just create real sense of anxiety within you and can just make you feel more panicked about the situation. Obviously, if there are certain things that you want to do with this person before you leave, or if there's some things that you feel you need to say, then keep a general awareness of the time in the back of your mind, but just try not to make it something that's urgent and something where you are regularly checking what time is it, how much time have I got left, oh my goodness, it's only 25 minutes, etc., because then you become hyper aware and then your brain and your body goes into high alert because it thinks that there's something happening. It thinks that you're tense for a reason. Is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be a situation where we're going to need fight or flight? That's the sort of panic mode that your brain goes into. So trying to limit that anxiety in the lead up is absolutely key. The second thing I would say in the lead up is plan how you're going to leave that person so that you know roughly how it's going to pan out. Obviously, we never have complete control over situations. Sometimes plans change at the last minute. Sometimes people take us by surprise with things that they decide to do on a whim. But if you can plan how you're going to leave that person, then that can leave you feeling more in control, more calm about the thought of it, if you can picture it in your mind beforehand and it's not some big nebulous, terrifying idea. So that's another important thing. So when I say plan how you're going to leave that person, I mean take some sort of control over the situation. So for example, it's common to leave someone at a train station or an airport or a bus station, for example, somewhere where they are getting onto a different mode of transport to either leave the country or go to a different town or city. For big goodbyes, like someone going away to university, going back to their hometown, going to their home country, or going traveling or something. The goodbyes that are often the most dramatic or most emotional, because you typically know then that there's going to be a longer time frame until you see that person again. So in my opinion, going with someone to an airport or a train station or a bus station can be one of the worst things you can do. Now, I understand that in some cases it's important that you do that. For example, if you've got a family member who's about to move abroad, or you've got a child who's going off to university, they might be very upset or confused or even distressed if you were to tell them that you didn't want to take them to the airport, or you didn't want to accompany them to the train station to wave them off. Sometimes, for example, if it's a child, they might actually be dependent upon you for transport to the station. If they've got a lot of things and they don't have their own car, or they can't take their own car to the station because they're going to be leaving it. There's all sorts of complicated situations there. So it may not be possible for you to refuse this. So that's what I mean about everything not being appropriate in every situation. But as a rule, airports, train stations, and bus stations can be the worst place to say goodbye for the person who is staying, not the person who's leaving, because if you're the person who's leaving, you are seeing new things, you're seeing new people, you're doing things, you're in motion, and that is a very different feeling because you're immediately taken out of the situation. And so you can, for example, listen to music, you can look out the window, you can go to sleep, etc. But if you're the person who is left standing at the airport or at the train station, for example, or at the bus station, typically you might be the only person left there. Like everyone else is gone, they've gotten on the train, it's left the platform, you're the one person stood there, or everyone else has gone through the airport gates and you're the one person who's left standing there. That can just make the feeling of loss and isolation and loneliness feel even more extreme, because it's so heightened because you're the only one there. It's just a sudden silence after all the hustle and bustle or the vehicle moving away. That can be so much worse. So in my opinion, it's better to leave that person on mutual ground. And what I mean by mutual ground is leaving somewhere sort of neutral, like in the middle of a crowd in the city centre. So if it's appropriate for you to not necessarily accompany that person to, for example, the train station, if I use that example, you could say to them, look, I can't take you all the way to the train station because I have to run some errands. I've got to go into the town centre. If you think that they would be okay with that, you can leave in the town centre, say your goodbyes there, and then you're both walking away. So you're leaving on mutual balanced ground. There's not someone who's leaving and one person who's left standing. You're both walking away. Okay. And also the thing with airports and bus stations and train stations is that they make the whole scene and the whole experience of saying goodbye so much more dramatic. I mean, how many movies and films and TV shows are based around someone having like a dramatic exit in an airport, and someone chasing to catch them at the last moment, to see them, to say that they love them, or to tell them that thing that they always wish they'd said, or desperately hugging as the train starts to disappear. It's literally built for drama. So if you leave in the middle of a city centre, you sort of hug and you say goodbye, and then you both walk away, it takes away that sense of drama. It's almost a bit underwhelming, which is kind of what you want. You don't want the feeling of isolation to be heightened. And if you're in a city centre or another big place like a shopping mall or whatever, then there's hustle and bustle there. You're not left in your house if you've had the person around with you just alone. The person who's leaving, as I said before, they get lots of different things. Yes, it can be very upsetting, but they've got to then negotiate their flight. They've got to make changes on the train potentially. They've got the lovely landscape that they can look at, they can go to sleep, they can listen to music, they can watch films on their journey, etc. The only thing that's changed usually for the person who's staying is that someone has left for them, and it's quieter and it feels more lonely. So leaving in a crowded place not only gives you that equal footing, but it also makes it easier for you to process those feelings in the immediate aftermath. Okay, and another tip for leaving each other is just not to linger and not to make it more dramatic than it already is or it already feels to you. So what I mean by that is, for example, we've probably all done this, where we just are saying goodbye to someone and we say goodbye, we hug, they turn around and leave, and we stand there and watch them go. And, you know, that makes it so much more heightened. We're standing there, we're watching them walk away, and then they eventually turn a corner and disappear, or they get on a train and they disappear. Doesn't that just heighten the whole experience and make it feel even more drawn out and painful and difficult for you? And another thing as well is not to set expectations on that person. So again, this is kind of connected to the sort of standing and watching them leave thing. You might have certain romantic expectations in your head, and it's so lovely if they do come about, but for example, you might be hoping that that person gets to the airport and then says, do you know what, I can't do this, I can't leave you, I've got to stay with you, I love you, etc. Or expect them to at least make a big declaration before they go, telling you that they care so much about you, or they've always loved you, or, you know, whatever it is, that sort of romantic notion that we're fed by films and the media and TV shows, all of those things. And another small one, but one that can really lead to a lot of resentment and a sense of hype and drama, is when you're watching someone walk away and you are just willing them to turn around. Just turn around and smile, just turn around and wave or blow a kiss or something, or even turn around and come running right back. When you have those kinds of expectations of the goodbye, it's putting an unreasonable expectation on that person, because they don't know that you are expecting that of them. They probably think that, you know, they've turned around and walked away and they expect you to do the same. They don't even know you're stood there usually. So having that expectation on the person not only creates a feeling of more drama in the moment, in the experience of saying goodbye, but it also could lead to resentment. Like once that person's walked away and you're just stood there like, well, you clearly don't care. You know, you've just walked off and not even said anything, or not even turned around and smiled and waved when I've been stood here waiting for you to do that. So all of these things, you're basically trying to make the goodbye more simple, more muted, less dramatic, in a sense even underwhelming. Like, yes, you've got the closure, the hug, saying you care about them, whatever you need to say to them, because you don't want to regret anything, especially if it's a permanent goodbye. But just trying to remove some of the drama and anxiety and high expectation and hype around the actual goodbye is really important, in my opinion. So all of this now leads us on to the aftermath, which is, in my opinion, the immediate and then longer term time after the physical act of leaving one another. So obviously, as I've said, it's best to leave on an equal footing. If you can both disappear into the crowd, there's not that sense of drama and hype and anxiety about the whole situation, because you're just both, you know, quite quietly just disappearing into crowds or going into different parts of town. So if you are able to leave like that, if that's appropriate and possible for you, then that's something that will immediately give you a good start in the whole saying goodbye aftermath, because you'll get that sense of underwhelm and you're also still in hustle and bustle. You're not feeling completely alone in that experience. If, however, you have gone to the train station or the airport, or you are left in your house, maybe that person's just said goodbye and driven away and you're left in your house, then it's important to get out as quickly as possible. So do not linger in the airport, do not linger at the train station, you know, sitting on the bench watching the area where the train used to be a few minutes ago. Any sort of lingering and dwelling will leave you feeling worse, and it sort of delays you getting over that experience. Okay, so get out of there as quickly as possible is my advice to you. You might not want to get out of the house. If you're in the house, that might not be something you want to do or is even possible for you if you have, for example, young children. But my main thing is have something planned straight away. So if you're in the house, or whether you're outside and you're coming back or going somewhere, whatever, have an activity planned that you can do. Even if it's something like cleaning, often doing something physical is very helpful because it takes you out of your head, it takes you out of your emotions, it kind of gets out that built up energy and anxiety in a way that is safe for you and controlled. So doing something like doing the dishes or sort of scrubbing the floor could be quite helpful, even though it sounds like the last thing you'd want to do in that situation. Going for a walk, for example, although for some people that might get you too much in your head or might leave you feeling alone if you're going for like a country walk or something. So choose what you feel is appropriate for you. Meeting a friend obviously is one of the best things you could probably do, because then you've got that person and you're reflecting on a relationship that's positive for you that you still have around you. Or calling a friend or a family member, for example. Listening to music as well, watching something if you've got the attention span for it. That also goes for if you're the person who is getting on the vehicle and leaving. Listening to music or watching something or just having a sleep might be best for you. Then another thing, this obviously doesn't go for the people that are saying goodbye permanently, but if it's possible for you, keep in touch with that person on their journey and in the next few days, so that you still feel like you've got contact with them. So for example, you might want updates. You might want them to tell you when they've gotten on their next train, or let me know as soon as you land at the airport, send me a picture of your front door, or, you know, something that you see along the way, just so that you feel close to them still. However, for some people, and again, this goes for choose what is right for you and what you feel you can manage, if that person's sending you regular updates like, oh, I've just got on my next train and I'm safe, and, you know, we're heading off now to the next place, and now I've arrived here, I'm just getting in the taxi to go to this place. Often that feels like it's happened in not very much time. So for example, if within an hour and a half you've gotten like 2 or 3 messages that are this person literally telling you that they're getting further and further away from you, that may make you feel worse, you know, that in such a short amount of time this person is literally telling you how much further away from you they are. Yeah, that might make the distance between you feel like it's just increasing and make you feel worse. So that might be something you might want to tell this person, if you don't mind, I'd rather you didn't give me updates about the journey. Just let me know when you're there safely and we can chat about other things, if you think they'd be okay with that and wouldn't be upset or confused. Obviously you've got to take into account their needs without completely pushing your needs to the side. So another thing, obviously this is a massive mitigator to negative feelings, is plan when you'll see them again. Again, obviously only for those that are saying goodbye temporarily. Either having something planned before you say goodbye, so knowing when you say goodbye that it's X amount of weeks, days or months until you'll see them again. That can make you feel better in the moment. However, in the long term or kind of short term aftermath, it might make you feel better to plan with them then when you're going to meet them again or when you're going to see them again, because that gets you involved with something exciting in the aftermath. So planning ahead might make you feel better in the actual moment of saying goodbye, because you can remind yourself of that date, but planning afterwards in the immediate aftermath might help you feel better in the short term aftermath, because then you've had the goodbye, but then it's followed by something positive, it's followed by something nice. You're not just left with the goodbye and the date in your mind. So if that's something you can do, obviously that's wonderful, and that will be a huge mitigator, knowing when you're gonna see that person, call that person, meet them again, visit them, etc., or have them visit you. Yeah, that will probably make you feel a lot better. So I really hope this video has been helpful and it's given you at least some tips as to how you can improve saying goodbye and feel less upset about it. Obviously, this won't cure feelings of sadness or feelings of anxiety potentially. You know, that's something we have to deal with, and saying goodbye is something that's often very sad, even if we've done it lots and lots of times in our life, or even if we know we're going to see that person again soon. So my aim for this video is just to hopefully give people some coping mechanisms or some techniques that you can use to soften the blow or take the edge off the experience and sort of build up some resilience to that experience. So I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know in the comments if it was. Have a lovely rest of your day, and it would make my absolute day if you would like this video, share it if you can, and of course, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.